Money is a really scary topic, I think, for a lot of people. For other people, it's a taboo topic. Who wants to talk about money? It's something we never talked about growing up. Other people are fine having a conversation about money. And inevitably, it comes up when you think about lawyers, for good or for bad. There's all kinds of I think anecdotal or stories about, lawyers just want money, right? And so I think there's probably a perception as a consumer, as a potential client, about, gosh, I know that it's going to be expensive to work with a lawyer. How am I going to do this? This is something that's unexpected to me. I didn't save for this. Whatever the concern is, it always comes back to money. What's this going to be all about with this lawyer and money? And are they going to be fair with me? What does the fee structure look like? What can I expect to get, from my lawyer in exchange for whatever money that they're getting, right? All of those are very valid concerns and something to just have an open conversation with a potential attorney about on the front end of your case. So there's a number of different ways that lawyers get compensated on cases. It might be an hourly lawyer. I usually think of hourly lawyers and billing hourly rates for things like, I think about family law, civil practice. If you go to a big law firm, oftentimes you'll get, the senior partner billing per hour, then kind of the junior partners or the associates or the paralegals, everyone's billing at an hourly rate so you get like a total bill, and everyone's got a different fee within that. There's other kinds of billing like flat fee billing is another kind of model. And then another one is called contingency fee. And so those are kind of very different ways to bill clients or potential clients. And you should know kind of what sort of fee is this lawyer looking for? What would be the arrangement for your case? And so if we think about contingency fee, oftentimes you'll see that kind of fee in a personal injury matter. So where someone or a family member or loved one is injured or there's been a wrongful death, somewhere where, the compensation would be, civil money damages, right? That the award to somebody who was injured and the victim would be some sort of, monetary payout, whether that's insurance or it gets litigated and, someone has to pay this kind of award that's civil money. And so what the kind of the structure you'll see when that's the case is that a lawyer will say, well, you don't have to pay unless, you recover, is kind of something you'll hear oftentimes in slogans. And that just means that, if there is a recovery on a case, say it's $1 million, right? The lawyer would take a certain percentage as, the contingency is, if you recover, then we'll take a certain percentage. Now, kind of the other piece that oftentimes gets built into that is things like costs might be excluded. So for example, the lawyer might front the costs for things like an expert witness or medical if you need, to pay, I don't know, for a doctor, for example, or, to grab records from a particular provider. And maybe there's different kinds of costs. So then the client would ultimately be responsible for those and they would come from a recovery. But kind of the general model, if you think about it, is contingency, where you don't pay anything unless you're recovering some sort of compensation at the end of a case. So that's one model. Flat fee work is very different, and oftentimes you'll see it in criminal defense work. And so our law firm does, when we do criminal defense cases and defending a case for a client in criminal court, it will be generally a flat fee. And kind of what that means at kind of very minimum is that the client is paying a set amount, like a flat fee, for a certain amount of services. So for example, maybe the client agrees to pay, one number all the way through a settlement conference. And then if they want to have a trial, then it's another number. You'll see that sometimes in criminal practice. For us, generally, we just do one flat fee through trial, but it's different for every lawyer that does that kind of work. And so as a consumer and as a kind of someone shopping for attorney services, it's important to ask, if this is a flat fee that you're hearing, I require a flat fee, well, what's included, so that you know exactly kind of what you're responsible for and when. And then also kind of find out what's not included. So that could be things like the lawyer is not responsible for things like transcripts. if you need to order transcripts for your case, or maybe the lawyer is not responsible for a separate investigator fee. So if you want to have, 8 witnesses interviewed and you need an investigator to go out and find them, do the interviews, create the memorandum, that work by the investigator would not be covered. The client is responsible for that. So those are kind of a couple of different models for attorney compensation. And it's worth a conversation, but don't be afraid to have it. It's something that you have to know right away. Don't let kind of the fear about money or concerns about, finances and costs get in the way of at least having the conversation. Most attorneys offer a free initial consultation on a case, and it's something it's okay to bring up right away because it's important and it's your case and you have a right to know that information.